right, the next step is this little section, little corner of the door that has delaminated a little bit. That first layer of plywood has started to come off. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a bunch of glue underneath this and I'm gonna try to save it. I'm gonna clamp it together, let it sit for a while. Hopefully that kind of re-laminates it, and then I can apply some Durabac and paint over it and hopefully seal it up nicely. And then there's one other section of delamination like this. Unfortunately, it's not on a corner, so I'm gonna really have to figure something creative out with that, but I wanna try to address those two sections today. This here is the other bad section, probably the worst section of delamination. I had some RV tape over this trying to protect it, but it's been getting really bad over time, and I just pulled it off, and you can see it's like the top layer of plywood is starting to really come away. I think what I'm gonna do is just sand this off completely, and then put some wood filler in here, and then just paint over it with a couple coats of Durabac. It might not match perfectly, but the goal is at least just to get it sealed up so that water cannot get behind that first layer of plywood. But it is kind of working. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, a couple of these screws here that I use for the trim have started to rust a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace the ones that have a little bit of surface rust on them. That actually worked. Re-laminating with some Type Bond 3 and then just clamping it together. It's basically good as new. I'm just gonna get some Durabac on here. First coat. I was having an issue where it was rubbing up against the bed of the truck and causing it to scuff and making these crazy like squeaking noises as well. So I added these two little rubber bumpers. They should help. I measured it out. It should literally be like 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more than that, to produce just a tiny little gap. So just these guys are hitting the front of the bed of the truck instead of everything else. If not, though, I got some foam sticky pieces in here too, just for extra protection. Definitely a success, I'd say. You know, it's not perfect. You can clearly see that there's some wood filler under here and that it's been repaired. But at the same time, from a distance, it's actually kind of hard to notice, especially when the sun's beating on it like this. And it's nice and smooth, no more delamination. Seems like it's going to be watertight. And then the door as well, same thing. Overall, turned out better than I thought. It's a heck of a lot better than it was yesterday. It's definitely not perfect, but you know, that big old rust spot that was on there did not look very good, and I was pretty worried about it like rusting through the roof. So I was able to grind that off with the wire brush, and then I hit it with some primer, and then I got some of the paint matching paint from O'Reilly Auto Parts. It was the GM pewter, got a couple coats of that on there, and then I added clear coat as well. And you can see where I like taped it off. I did not do a very good job of like taping off different spots. Like the line is very pronounced, but from a distance it looks okay, and at least it doesn't have a giant rust spot on it anymore. super tiny, fading fast. But I'm pretty desperate, guys. I got this board like 2 weeks ago. I've only been able to get out on it once, so I was basically willing to get out here for just about anything. And there's actually a couple fun little ones. The whole reason I got this bigger board was so that I could get out on days like this. I currently have it all to myself. There was one other longboarder out here, but he just went in, so I'm just gonna make the most of it. This thing is sick. We got the size of the day, guys. I think that's the one. Like a little winded out here. It's like this conveyor belt with microwaves, not the cooking appliance. In a lot of ways, this is kind of like the perfect session to show you guys this board for the first time, because it's the whole reason I got it. I wanted to be able to get out here on the smallest days, the tiniest little ripples, and this thing is actually making it kind of fun. It's a heck of a lot faster than the old inflatable board that I had. So that thing is a two-piece travel board, 8-foot mid-length that fits in the back seat of the pickup truck. Obviously I could put it in the bed right now, but normally the camper is in there, and I kind of just wanted to show you guys that. For years I've wanted a board just like this one, guys. I know I've mentioned it in many videos. I think even going back to my Element days I talked about it. I couldn't really find a solution. I ended up with that inflatable board, which worked okay for what it is, but I was always sacrificing the performance of like a true hard board, like an actual high performance mid-length or long board. And I finally bit the bullet and bought this one. These boards are made by the Carbon Compact out of a shop called Nature's Shapes on Long Island, New York. The shaper, his name is Mike Becker. He's a very talented shaper, been doing it for many, many years. And a while ago, he came up with the idea to try to create a two-piece surfboard, a two-piece travel board. As some of you guys may know, bag fees when flying with a surfboard are astronomical. Sometimes they're not even allowed to fly with a board on some airlines. So he's essentially got sick of that, I think, when he was traveling around, and decided to take matters into his own hands and invent this two-piece board. He uses a couple of carbon fiber rods in the middle, in that section where the brake is, and then 4 titanium bolts to essentially screw it together. It takes all of 2 minutes to put the thing together. He does short boards that you can literally like fit in a checked bag and like just check it on a plane for no fees and fly with, which is pretty cool. And then he does these mid-lengths, long boards. He also does stand-up paddle boards as well for any of you guys out there by, you know, lakes and rivers who are traveling around. I really do believe this is like a perfect solution for folks who are on the road, just out there traveling. It's a heck of a lot easier to take this thing and throw it in the back seat of the truck than it is to stick it on a roof, pulling a 30-pound board down from a roof rack and up and climbing up a ladder and down. It's a pain in the butt. I've done it before in previous campers and even in the Element with the short boards, and even with the short boards that was hard. So when you get something like this, it's a lot heavier, it's a lot bigger, and you got to deal with this 8 or 9 foot board that you're just lugging around everywhere you go. I just think that it's a lot easier to be able to easily, you know, break it into 2 pieces like that and stick it wherever it can go and fly around with it and take it everywhere. A lot more convenient. I mean, I will say that these boards are kind of like works of art. Like I said, they are hand-shaped and they're a little pricey. You know, you pay for that convenience up front, but, you know, as anyone knows who surfs, a new longboard, a new stand-up paddleboard is pretty expensive as it is, especially if it's a hand-shaped board. But Mike hooked me up with a little bit of a discount. Thank you, Mike, for working with me on this. And I will put a link in the description description of this video to the Carbon Compact website. You guys can check out the boards that Mike has shaped, and he does custom boards as well. Be sure to let him know that I sent you. I'm really looking forward to making some more content with this board in the near future. I think it's really going to get me out there a lot more frequently, and that's exactly why I got it. I was a little reluctant to put the camper back into the bed of the truck here. It's been a few weeks since I finished all the projects that I was working on at the beginning of this video. You can probably tell my hair's gone a little bit longer since I started filming it, and I've just kind of been dragging my feet on it a little bit. Part of me would like to potentially sell the pickup truck and the truck camper and get something else. I would like to maybe do a van build at some point in the near future. I'm in this position where I actually have a place that I can stay for a little while, as I mentioned in the last video, and it's got a garage with a little workshop behind me. The weather is perfect this time of year here in Florida. It just seems like there's a lot of things lining up where this would be a great opportunity to make a change. You know, the truck is getting a little bit older. This setup is not perfect for me. I would really like to have like more of an urban camper, something where I don't have to climb out of the front seat and then climb in the back every time. Most of the time I'm doing stealth camping, right? So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to have this setup. I don't really have a need for a big 3/4 ton truck at this point, at least not anymore. I've even gone as far as to list the camper online for sale. If anyone out there is interested, feel free to send me an email, nate@el.life. And I've even looked at some vans as well. I went and looked at a couple of ProMasters over the past week or so. Haven't found anything that is the right fit yet. The ones that I've looked at were pretty beat up. They just did not make a lot of sense. They had some issues. So we'll see. We'll see if I can find anything. I might do a Transit, maybe a whole different van, maybe a minivan. I haven't fully committed to anything. The first step is just seeing if I can even sell this camper, seeing if I can sell the pickup truck, and then go from there. Thank you guys so much for watching and for following along. I'll talk to you all again soon.